So we're going to get into Loki episode 5. Well, let's just...
we got one episode left.
We got one episode left. A lot happened in this one. A lot to discuss. What did you think? Let's just start with that.
How many goddamn Lokis are there?
There's a lot. There is a lot. You know, there were stories, and I don't want to dive too deep into this tangent, that some of the Spider-Men may be making cameos into other movies. And when I first heard that story, I thought, no fucking way. But after an episode like this and some of the stuff that happened in WandaVision, it definitely opens up the possibility for that to be plausible. With that said, lots of different Lokis, lots of different variants of Lokis in this. It was pretty crazy. Even sometimes a little bit hard to keep track. Is that one this one, or is that one this one? You know?
Loved it.
You loved it. I loved it.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say, because I don't want to. We dive in too deep. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. But for just an episode of Loki, I just really loved it. To me, it's getting better, but better by the episode. Like, it's getting better. We're up to 5. We got one left. We're getting so much better. The stories, like where I was lost in the first one, is better off. Like, now I'm like, okay, I know what's going on now. Now it's making sense to me. Then basically, like, the crew's back together, which is great. You know, now they've all kind of left. I don't know. I hope we get to see Owen Wilson's character again. Was it Mobius?
Mobius, yeah. Well, he is in this episode. He
was in this episode.
You see Mobius.
So I'm hoping. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is you see Mobius make his triumphant return in a pizza delivery vehicle. And yeah.
No, to me, that's it. And it's great to see that, like, the Lokis have evolved.
Yeah.
So, like, in different timelines, right? One Loki says, I can do this. One Loki says, look, the Loki we're used to is the god of mischief. He does trickeries and all that stuff, disappears, reappears. Other Lokis are like, no, we're more powerful than this. You don't understand how powerful we are. And you're like, he's like, I can't do that. And you're like, no, you can't do that. He's like, watch.
Yeah.
Well, like, holy shit.
You get to know all of these variants that we were introduced in the last season. You get to know a little bit more about them when they explain what their time crime was, or whatever they call it. It's not a time crime, but they all say, like, what's your time crime that you did? And the kid Loki says, I killed Thor. And they fucking got him. Like, that's the one thing that a Loki can't do. And he actually did it. And this kid did it. And then you've got the big black guy with the hammer, and, you know, the big muscled up dude. And he goes, I killed Thanos, then I killed Iron Man, then I killed Captain America, then I took all the Infinity Stones for myself, and I was the king. And everybody's going, oh yeah, right. Where are the Infinity Stones right now then, buddy? Nobody seems to know. I guess actually the TVA could have confiscated them. That is an interesting point. But it did sound like he was making that all up. And then you've got the older Loki, which is interesting, is he projects a version of himself. And there's a little bit to dive into, and we'll get into it a bit here, I think. He projects a version of himself, which is a divergent from the timeline because he's supposed to get killed. However, after he escapes certain death and changes the timeline, he goes off to another planet. So he doesn't cause any divergence in the timeline because he is not interacting with anyone. There is nothing that would detect a divergent. And he goes off and he spends like a millennia harnessing his powers and getting better and mastering his skills. And he's able to conjure up anything that he possibly wants because he's just getting more and more in tune with his abilities. And then it's the second that he misses his brother, he says, he starts walking towards reality and starts deciding he wants to participate in society again. And it's the moment that he decides he wants to participate in society that's when he affects the timeline. And they say, boom, we've got to stop him from doing that. In his perception, it's Lokis are not meant to, we're just meant to exist and be secluded. But the reality, I think my interpretation of that is that it was once he diverted reality, but once he started affecting it was when he had to be stopped. It's a pretty interesting thing, and we get to see just how powerful a Loki can get. At one point, Loki says to Sylvie, I think we're a lot more powerful than we realize.
Yes, and they want to enchant the beast of whatever the
Alioth,
fuck that
Alioth, Alioth. They want to enchant this beast, and they did an interesting storyline here for this episode. Is the first thing out of Loki's mouth is, why don't we get one of those temp pads and get the fuck out of here? And he's like, yeah, like we got a bunch of those just lying around doing whatever. And then it's like, well, why doesn't somebody with a temp pad just prune themselves and show up? And sure enough, that's what Sylvie does. She's got one, and she's just like, boom, peace out. And she shows up with a temp pad. So they've got a way out after that. But then they go and they slay Alioth after this. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have any idea who's going to be the big bad guy once they get past Alioth? Where are they going to go? Do you have any theory? You think it's going to
Thor's going to be the bad guy that's going to stop Loki.
Why do you think it's going to be Thor?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be Thor. I don't know. For some reason, some of the spoilers are out for next week, and I just think that Thor's Hemsworth's going to be there. Maybe they're brothers.
Have you read the spoilers for next week?
Haven't heard Chris Hemsworth is in the next one.
Oh, so Chris Hemsworth. So that is influencing your decision. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So
to be honest, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be back there. Who do you think?
I have some theories. I mean, one of the one that's going around is Kong the Conqueror. I'm not super familiar with that guy. I haven't read a lot of comics from that guy, but that's the one that the internet seems to have their hung their hat on, is that's going to be the guy that's behind all of this. I'm not sure, possibly. I think it's possible that it's a Loki variant. That's probably the most likely, is that a Loki variant got out of control and is trying to control it. The other one that I had, and this is wishful thinking. I'm going to be 100% upfront, and it's probably, I'm almost embarrassed, a little bit cringy to say it because I'm such an X-Men fanboy, but wouldn't it be cool if it was Apocalypse? Wouldn't it be cool?
I'd take that. I would take Apocalypse any day of the week.
But that's the thing, is Apocalypse is this character who lived outside of time, and he was an Egyptian, I believe, and during the Egyptian times, he went through time and mastered his skills, and eventually he wants to be in control of the timeline, and this TVA could represent this existence outside of time that Apocalypse is sort of synonymous with at times. And also, as a bit of a foreshadowing, is Sylvie is constantly chasing apocalypses. It's almost like a bit of a foreshadowing that's put in there, because she's going from one apocalypse to the other, to another, to another. The ultimate bad guy could be Apocalypse, and then they can go, we told you all along that we put an apocalypse in it all along. I think it's a little bit on the nose, but
you're a little, you know what, you're dreaming, but I love your dreams. Your dreams are good.
I know it's a little bit of me fanboying as an X-Men fan. But that's what I would like to get it. That's what I would like to believe. I'm
probably going to go more with it's a Loki.
You think it's a Loki? I believe.
I think it's a variant, but you know what? If Apocalypse showed up at the end and he just kind of had his laugh, and maybe like his suit and his laugh went behind, like, you killed my number one guy, it was Loki, but it's really me, and they're in, I think I'd buy that.
Well, let me put it this way: we know the X-Men are going to be introduced in this phase of the MCU, so it's an interesting opportunity to do it.
Yes.
First, you're bringing Apocalypse, and then you got to bring in some people to fight him. I don't know. It's just a theory. With that said, like I said, there's some Easter eggs there, but I've got a couple of Easter eggs that I'd like to go over with you. Did you notice any? Did you notice any Easter eggs? Let me ask you that. Did anything stand out nothing? Okay. Nothing. I actually found this episode was very rich in Easter eggs, and there's a lot of them. And when I go over them, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I did notice that. So there was a giant saucer, like it looked like a space saucer, spaceship. I don't know. Some people said it might be a shield of like an Ant-Man shield or something like that. I thought it was the USS Enterprise, and other people have said it looks like an homage, although it's not the actual Enterprise, because I don't think they have that intellectual property, but it could be like an homage that was put in there. That's one. There's also a giant Yellow Jacket helmet. Yellow Jacket is a character from Ant-Man. If you look, there's a there's a giant Yellow Jacket helmet. Also, I'm sure you noticed that as they were going down into the bunker that had the bowling alley, I'm sure you saw Thor's hammer.
Yes.
And then you saw a jar with what looks like
with Thor. Oh, there's not Thor in there?
it's a Thor variant, and the variant is Throg, I believe is what he's called, is the frog version of Thor is trapped into that little jar. So they've captured the frog version and put him into this is like the alligator version of Loki. The frog version of Thor is trapped in there.
Is that really an alligator with Loki, or is it just an alligator?
Well, they throw a little bit of question onto that. Nobody really knows. He claims
Who
he's
cares?
an alligator.
Who cares? It's an alligator. If you can just walk around with an alligator, it's badass.
And that's another running motif of this whole show is you can't trust a Loki, especially in this episode. You see one Loki has a plan, the other one has a plan, and I can't believe you trusted me. And then they double cross this guy, double cross that guy. And then they go, is that even a Loki or is it an alligator? Nobody really knows. So you can't really trust what's going on in this. Some more Easter eggs. Oh, the jar on Throg. This is obviously, I've had to do some research and read some articles about it. The jar is labeled T365. The first episode with Throg was in Thor episode 365. So that's what that's a reference to. The baddie, the big Loki, the bad guy in this episode is President Loki. That's kind of an Easter egg for comic book fans because there's a Vote Loki comic book that had a President Loki in it. The hand getting bitten off. I know you're going to get this. That to me, Chubbs. Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. I was gonna go Captain Hook, but Chubbs is just as good. I think. I love
Chubbs. I'm gonna go Chubbs instead.
That's great.
Fuck Captain Hook. We're going Chubbs.
The idea is Captain Hook got his hand bitten off by.
No, he got cut off by Peter Pan and fed to the crocodile.
I thought I got bitten off. Well,
Chubbs.
Maybe it's
Chubbs, baby.
Maybe it's more of an homage to Chubbs.
Yo, it's all in the hips. Yeah, it's all in the hips.
You know, it's funny. I saw a meme going around that the Loki variants look like all the people up in heaven, and there's Chubbs, Abraham Lincoln, and an alligator was the meme. So maybe this is sort of like a shout out to whoever made that meme. We've also got Mobius's license plate. This is a bit nerdy here. It was GRNW1D. This is apparently a reference to Mark Grunwald, who is the inspiration for the look of Mobius. I don't even really know. That's not important. The other one I was actually thought you would catch is the USS Eldridge. Did you see the ship? The boat that fell, and there were all these soldiers on it.
Yes, I did. It was.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Do you know?
No, you go ahead. No,
you know what that's an Easter egg for? No, that's for the Philadelphia experiment. I'm sure you've heard of the Philadelphia experiment. This experiment that happened in the 1940s in a harbor in Philadelphia, where a ship, they were playing around with cloaking device back in the 40s, and apparently everybody that witnessed it said the ship literally disappeared for like an hour or two, and it came back. And there's all these stories of like the crewmen appeared in the back of a bar for like 45 minutes and then they disappear or whatever, and then when the ship reappeared, there's all these stories of the crew were part of the boat and they became one with the boat and stuff like that. So that was specifically put in as a reference to that, which is really cool to have that sort of appear here, and then hey, maybe it's supposed to disappear and go back to that harbor. Another one that I didn't know is there's what is it called here? I'm trying to get the name. Shit, I don't know it. One of the video games is apparently, if you look, there's an arcade that's got a name that was a video game that apparently disappeared overnight. Apparently it was famous for giving people hallucinations and
was it Paramus or
yeah, that's something like that. Yeah, have you heard of this? Maybe you could fill me in on it.
No, I don't know, man. The way they talked about the video game was just like if you played it for too long, you would hallucinate literally, because what used to happen was, even with mine, you stand in front of the video game machine for hours. Okay. We were saying because of the way it was going off, like it was stuck in your eyes, you would just hallucinate if you played it for too long.
Yeah.
So like we had to pull it. It was like one of the first video games ever pulled because they were producing hallucinogens. Now they're also saying it might have been on acid and it probably didn't help your trip. So that's why they pulled it. But it was in the background of.
Yeah, so this is
But-
one of these urban legends, just like the Philadelphia experiment. This this arcade machine that supposedly induced hallucinations. There are also urban legends that the Men in Black came and pulled them out in the middle of the night, and they would take all these information about what they observed on people, the information they gathered. So there's a lot of Easter eggs in this episode, and there's a bunch more. These were the only ones that I thought would be interesting enough for our audience to be able to stand. There's so much more that are a lot deeper that I didn't want to get into. So it's a really cool, well thought out episode. So if anybody wants to go back and take a look, there's a lot of stuff that's in there to take a look at.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's all I got for Loki. What do you got?
Well, do I got anything else? You know what? All I really got is that's it. I can't wait for the next episode. We're gonna finally get some answers. We're gonna find out who's behind this. We're gonna find out if they put Loki back into the timeline.
Are we though?
You think there's a possibility that they're not going to give us a conclusion?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think next episode we got a lot to look forward to. So far, I've been a big fan of the show, and I'm really enjoying the ride. That's all I can really say. I think we're gonna get some answers, but we'll have to see.